Hi, today we'll go over the Art of Game Design chapter 20, 21, and 23. Let's get started. Chapter 20 is Worlds Contain Characters. How the characters are integral to making your game world feel alive. Game characters are involved in struggles that are almost entirely physical. It's hard for a player to go inside of a character's mind and know what they're feeling at that point in time without it being an actual plot, and this is why game characters deal with physical threats. Game worlds are almost entirely always based on fantasy situations. Sure, there are a lot of games that are based on historical events, but they usually take liberties in order to make them feel like games. Next is avatars. The ideal form is a character that we dream of being, a character that is not like us in any way, shape, or form, but they're an idealized form of what we've always wanted to be. Think always wanting to be a secret agent or a basketball player. The blank slate is a less detailed character that is easier for the player to project themselves onto. Think of an RPG character that you can customize completely. The idealized form and the blank slate are often mixed. Think of a character like you can customize their appearance, but within the plot of the game, they have a set personality that you, the player, can't change. Next is creating compelling game characters, and these are tips that can help you do that. First, list character functions. What roles do the characters play? Is this the kidnapped princess? Or is the kidnapped princess the hero? Is the anti-hero really just the hero? Next, you define and use character traits. Take the personalities and traits of a character and you define them. Say that this character is honest and charismatic, while this character is evil and malicious. Third, you use the interpersonal circumflex. You define how these characters interact with each other. Say you have like Han Solo. Darth Vader is completely hostile to Han Solo no matter what. Fourth, you make a character web. You define the relationships that these characters have between each other. Fifth, powerful stories can just transform characters. Usually the sign of a bad character is that they don't change through the course of a story. There is no growth from that character. And a powerful story can allow a character to grow and their relationships between other characters can change and develop. Finally, let your characters surprise us. Make your characters do things and say things that we don't expect them to. Chapter 21 is Worlds Contain Spaces. The primary purpose of architecture is to control a person's experience, and the architect, Christopher Alexander, has properties of living structures that can be well applied to game design. First is levels of scale, and by that he means like how does the player have short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals, and how do they scale to one another. Second is strong centers. Does the game world revolve around the protagonist? Third is boundaries. Where are the boundaries of your game world? Or does your game world even have boundaries at all? Fourth is positive space. Does the foreground and the background look good? Does all the mechanics of a game complement each other? Fifth is good shape. Does the visual elements in your game world look pleasing to the eye? Does something not look misshapen or out of place? Sixth is deep interlocking ambiguity. When two things are so connected that you really can't have one without the other. Next is contrast. Does your game mechanics contrast how you control the game itself? Something along those lines. Eighth is roughness. Something that looks too pretty, too perfect, really doesn't have any character. So a game world shouldn't look too pretty unless you're actually going for that. Ninth is simplicity and intercom. Are the mechanics of your game so simple and they flow with the rest of the game, they create an intercom where everything is balanced. Finally is non-separateness. Does everything in your game world feel right, that it should be connected to one another? And that if you actually did take something out of the world, would it feel less whole? Finally, chapter 23 is the look and feel of a world is defined by its aesthetics. Aesthetic considerations make any experience more enjoyable. Good art can really draw a player into a game and make the world feel much more whole. It also makes exploration feel more rewarding because the player is always wondering what's around the next corner. Get artists involved in a game project as early as possible. A piece of art can inspire the idea for a game, but it can also prove that the idea of a game is not worth pursuing. Be judicious about where you put the detail in your artwork, as great artwork does take time. Thank you, and I hope you liked this video.